Hello, welcome to Butlins Minehead for day 2 of the UK Open here on stage 2 in Reds Bar in this marvellous resort down in the southwest of England. We've got 4 games for you in the last 32 this afternoon, and it's quite the lineup we've got for you. Jonny Clayton versus Ross Smith gets us going. Multiple major champion Jonny Clayton, the Welsh #2, against Ross Smith, the former European champion. As you've heard Michael Bridge introduce the players. A man more suited to Butlins you cannot find. If only you were wearing a red coat. Rob Cross versus Josh Rock will follow this one. The Bullet Stephen Bunting, the winner of the Masters this year, takes on Kevin Doots. And then Peter Wright versus Andrew Gilding sees a clash of former winners of this title. I'm Dan Dawson, Paul Nicholson. Alongside me, there's evidently quite a few Welsh fans or Jonny Clayton fans in the crowd. If he sticks a point on his average for every single one in there, he'll be fine. But if he doesn't, he might have a problem, because he was very fortunate to come through yesterday against the German Tim Wolters. And we know that Clayton is not firing on all cylinders at the minute.
No, he's not. But this is the kind of day where you can really get yourself going in the right direction. And he does have good memories of this tournament over the last 4 years. Because in the last 4 runnings of this tournament, he has not failed in getting to the last 16. He did make the semi-finals back in 2020, a year where he hit a 9-darter here, but ultimately lost out to Gerwyn Price, who was the last person to be defeated on this stage here yesterday in that thrilling encounter with Martin Schindler. And he was gifted a draw last night that pretty much nobody wanted.
Yes, we lost Gerwyn Price and Michael van Gerwen yesterday. Van Gerwen was the tournament favourite. That is now Luke Littler with most people, although Luke Humphreys not far behind him.
100.
But game between Chris Dobie and Gary Anderson, both very real title contenders. I am convinced that Ross Smith is a very real prospect for this title, and he played excellently yesterday and won a tight game, which makes a change because he usually ends up playing brilliantly and losing those games. But won the last 4 legs to beat Daryl Gurney 10-8.
Yeah, that was not an easy draw at all, taking on Gurney. But the ability to get the job done, if he's going to have that kind of year, Dan, where last year he was, you're absolutely right, the person who put in the big numbers and was on the wrong end of those kind of results. But if he can put that right this year, his season could be mesmeric.
82.
One of the biggest 180 hitters in the world, Ross Smith. And Dirk van Duijvenbode has had his struggles. He was the leading 180 hitter, of course. He did it 10 yesterday against Luke Humphreys and still lost. So good signs for Dirk. But this is a chance for Jonny Clayton to break through in the very first leg of this match.
He's got a couple of routes here for 116. Depends whether he wants double 18 or not, because he does like double 18, but he doesn't want to mess with that blocking flight. Even with that dart in the 60, he still has to move for the tops. More than anything, just to see it. His best finish yesterday against Daryl Gurney of 130.
Yeah,
coupled with 9 180s, just goes to show how well he did play in that game, Dan.
Well, we don't know how this is going to pan out. Jonny Clayton could play like he did yesterday against Tim Wolters. He could play like he did last week in an exhibition against Van Gerwen, where he was averaging well over a ton and beat MVG in the final of it. I know it's only an exhibition, but it shows that Clayton is able to play at a very, very good level.
140.
He just hasn't done it a lot in the meaningful tournaments of late. But you do think it's nailed on. Ross Smith is going to outscore Jonny Clayton, at least in the 180s department. Jonny Clayton can make up for that in the 140s if he gets going. But the maximums, you would think Ross Smith is going to annihilate Clayton in that particular metric.
140.
So his doubling and his approach play has got to be right on cue. This is a battle of 2 players who are immensely popular with fans and other players.
100.
But you've got to put that aside this afternoon if you want to be
145.
in the draw for the last 16. And this is nice. Very, very close.
So
So the personal best finish in this tournament for Jonny. His best yesterday, 108 against Volters.
Smith leaves himself on tops as well.
Jonny require 40.
Clayton threatened the 145. This is more straightforward. He does manage to pin it last starting hand to level the game up. Now they've run into each other a few times, these two. Ross Smith beat Clayton at the World Grand Prix, beat him convincingly towards the back end of last year.
125.
Rubbish, he says, as he waves that away. But they did meet here last year, and Jonny Clayton won it in a last leg decider. And guess what happened? Ross Smith averaged 97 and lost a tight game.
Do you get the feeling that Ross is probably in a better spot with his confidence than he was 12 months ago, because he has won a couple of titles since then, and Jonny hasn't been as prolific in the last year as, say, Ross Smith has in this format, because let's not forget that Jonny's now a two-time World Cup champion, but this is singles play. It's not playing doubles or having to rely on a teammate.
I mean, Jonny, obviously, it was a year of two halves for Jonny Clayton last year, as Ross Smith makes it 2 180s. He was actually very good in the first half of the year and ended up going to the World Match Play final, of course, where he was sensational. It was only a brilliant Nathan Aspinall that stopped him. But obviously, the sad loss of his father, it's been different since then. He wasn't playing, he wasn't practicing, he wasn't in form, and he's not really recovered from it yet. He went looking for the treble 14 there, Ross Smith.
91. Jonny require 126.
He's got Jonny's name written all over it when he's on form, but he hates that first dart because the effort is gone.
29. Rossi require 48.
Ross spends a lot of time on double 18 and double 16 when he's got choices. And that's why. What we're seeing so far is good finishing. This is the way this game's going to go. It's going to be tit for tat. It's going to feel exactly, for Jonny, like that game against Volters yesterday. At one point, Volters won 3 legs in a row, but that didn't happen at any other point to any player. It was very much win a leg, lose a leg. And Clayton did really well just to get through it.
Yeah, he only averaged 83.5 in that game, Jonny Clayton, which was a couple of points less than Volters. He's got away with one there. If you win a game with a low 80s average, you know you've been fortunate.
If you compare him to the other 7 players on this board this afternoon, he is almost 9 points adrift, average-wise, of somebody else's performance level. The likes of Bunting and Doots, they're very close together. Wright and Gilding, who will be in match 4, they're very close together. But Cross, Rock and Smith, vastly better than the output of Clayton yesterday, and that is a cause for concern. But if he can put it right this afternoon, there's no reason why he can't get through tonight as well.
Yeah, well, the tournament average coming into today from the opening day, and that's nearly 160 players, as Ross Smith demonstrates. It's not just 180s he can hit, it's a 162 as well. But that was a tiny little bit under 90, high 89 point whatever. Now, Jonny Clayton wasn't even close to that, so he knows he's been lucky. Now, Ross Smith went upstairs.
I'm not sure why, because he likes double 16. Why wouldn't you go for the 19s there?
Well, I guess that he's so good on the treble 20. Going to try and give himself a dart at double 13. Jonny Clayton wants double 12. And that is vintage Ferret. It's those sorts of finishes that he's so proficient at taking out. And that's what took him to all those titles 3 years ago.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but did he just ask Kirk Evans, is that in?
140.
Which treble were you referring to, Jonny?
He was in somewhere.
No, correct me if I'm wrong, but is he using new darts?
140.
They look darker than usual. Maybe a slightly different colour, but constructively they might be the same. But I'll have to get a really good close look at these. It's not often that Jonny Clayton changes something.
96.
Oh, I can't say I picked up on it, to be honest. I struggle to keep track of every player's darts. There might be a slightly different grip pattern on there, is there?
Absolutely. That's exactly what it is. It's a bit more complex. It doesn't look as aggressive. Maybe it's something he's wearing in.
Well, I'll ask you a question about Ross Smith, because I think it's a fascinating thing. You talked to Ross Smith. I spoke to him at the World Championship,
65.
where, again, he lost an incredible game of darts. It's 3 years running now. He's been utterly brilliant and lost without going too deep in the tournament.
140.
But he says he's trying to find that. He thinks there's some sort of magic formula, some magic thing that will make him win those tight games. Whereas I think actually all he needs to do is keep doing exactly what he's doing, and his luck will turn. But he thinks that, you know, I need a big finish at exactly the right moment, like the 130 to win against Gurney last night. There's nothing you can do to bring that out of yourself, is there? It's just about plugging away and trying to maintain the high levels you've been producing.
Yeah, you've got to be ready for those situations, and it's more mental than physical, because Ross has done everything physically possible to make himself better as a dart player. And technique-wise, he's ticked that box.
40.
He hasn't ticked that box.
Jonny requires
Clayton could
76.
steal this one away and have the lead after 5.
He thought about another 20. He's going to go 16 for tops. And this is really encouraging from Jonny Clayton. He missed the double for the 145 checkout, came back and tidied it up. But since then, an 81 and a 76. And this is what Jonny Clayton does when he's playing well.
And he really likes Red's ball as well. He's had some great games on this stage.
96.
Going back to your question about Ross, the margins of defeat that he has grown so accustomed to over the last couple of seasons, he's still trying to improve exponentially. However, we're talking about the finest margins of defeat. A leg, a shot. If you're ready for that situation once again, the same way that you were before, just because you miss one dart at a bullseye or a double doesn't mean you have to change everything about your preparation. You've just got to be resilient, and that is what he needs. Right now, what he needs is a 9 darter.
Well, he might produce one. Back-to-back 180s, and you talk about resilience. Jonny Clayton had just produced the breaker throw to go into the lead, and Ross Smith has a chance to break back immediately in the most spectacular fashion.
Just shy. But you've got to give Clayton credit. 145 to leave a finish. He's not noted as the best tactician or counter, but he did get that right.
97.
To leave
Jonny requires
160, which we saw a couple of times yesterday afternoon. We're not going to see another one. And Ross has a great opportunity to level things up with an immediate break back.
Jonny requires 44.
That leaves double 16 for an 11 darter. 12 will do, and Ross Smith, the headline for Ross Smith is that he scores. He hits 180s. He is one of the heaviest hitters in that phase of the game. But the reason he does this so often is because he groups those darts together just like that, and he does it so regularly. Now, that isn't just a help when you're throwing at the treble 20. You've seen it with a couple of his finishes. He misses just outside. He's got a marker dart. He can slide in next to it. If you're using your darts as markers in the scoring or the finishing phase, and you can do it repeatedly, regularly, reliably, it makes you dangerous.
If you were going to say that Ross Smith was a footballer, the way he plays the game of darts, you'd say he was Harry Kane, because he always scores. But has he won the amount of titles at this stage that he would maybe warrant? Maybe not, but he's still got an awful lot of time ahead of him. I personally think that Ross Smith's best darts are ahead of him. Forget about multiple floor titles and a European Championship, which was a little bit out of the blue. I still think his best days are ahead of him because of the way he thinks now, and I think there's only one thing that I would change about him right now, and that's his energy management. Sometimes in games he gets a bit too passion invested, and he just needs to temper that the way that Schindler did yesterday against Price.
Well, one difference between Ross Smith and Harry Kane is that Ross Smith has won a title in Germany.
And that'll be the same by the end of the season by the looks of it. I don't think Leverkusen are going to let that title go.
60. Ross, you require 7.
Good response, this. Brilliant leg of darts from Jonny Clayton to break him, and then Ross Smith has hit back. He'll go to the 17s now. No need to go for the bullseye.
38.
I'm interested. I'm not sure what the best pace that Ross Smith. I was talking with Wayne Mardle about him. He was similarly
72.
enamoured with Ross Smith and the way he's
Ross, you
played for a long
require
while now.
32.
He believes that he can get a bit bogged down and get a bit staccato and slow things down when really, look, he's done it again. Marker and in. If he just lets it flow, a bit like Damon Heta has consciously been trying to do for some time now. Just get up there and let them throw. Don't get all bogged down in the mechanics of it, because it is quite a robotic action. It is quite lots of set positions, but he still wants to feel like he's just flowing through a game rather than really grafting and working with every dart, every visit.
Absolutely. If you look at some of the great dart players over the last 50 years, when they're playing their best stuff, they make it look effortless. And that is something that Ross could find if he just takes his foot off the pedal just a little bit. It's very much a structured set position throw. But if he just says hello to that set position instead of it being so rigid, he might find a little bit of extra fluidity or fluency, and that is potentially frightening for everybody else.
I do think when you look at the play, Ross Smith is not in that very elite tier. He may have been mentioned in discussions for things like the Premier League and the World Series. I do not know. But he's below that level because he hasn't been in World Series events, Premier League events. He's not, you know, been selected to go and do that. I firmly believe that he is, from that next level players, one of them who is perhaps even the most likely to take that next step. I would have said it was Dirk van Dijvenbode until his injury problems last year, but I think Ross Smith is probably the most likely behind the very top boys.
I'd have to agree. I just think his approach to being a professional darts player every day
45.
is up there with
62.
the best of anybody. 62 for Clayton. That is as good as it gets, and so is that. That's classic Clayton for 4-4. This is encouraging. Good to see from someone who has not been playing his best for a little while, but the season is young, and sometimes when you need to kick into gear, you need to do so in familiar, positive surroundings. Places like this where he's got a bunch of Welsh fans behind him.
Well, I think from what we've seen in the first 8 legs of this, hopefully it carries on, because we do have one of those really intriguing matches where Jonny Clayton, the arch finisher, is finishing very, very well. Those little combination finishes, they are going for Jonny Clayton. And Ross Smith, the massive scorer, has already hit 5 180s in 8.5 legs of darts. It's the scorer versus the finisher.
140.
One of them will win. Normally, you back the finisher, but Ross Smith is such an immense scorer, he might be able to take Jonny Clayton out of the game for too many legs.
170.
He's not just about 180, he's got the old 170 plus shots in the locker as well.
140.
Some players as well, Dan, are
142.
excellent canvases to play against. You know what you're going to get from Ross. You know what you're going to get from Jonny. There's going to be very little in the way of shouting and celebrating in this game, or any sort of antics.
110. Jonny, you're 160.
This is a top-level straight darts match where Ross Smith could now take the lead again with another double 16 effort. Are you banking on marker and hit again?
I think that'll be the plan,
93.
and I think that's
Ross, you're required
likely what we'll
52.
see. But 3 missed darts at a double could be the deciding thing. Well, he doesn't even need a marker.
Set legs, Jonny to throw first.
This is superb. Really, really good. The averages right now, Jonny Clayton is at nearly 98. Ross Smith is at nearly 102. Proper
97.
game of darts, and both of them playing the brand of darts we associate with them.
I love that you use that word, because it's the perfect segue to what I wanted to say next about Ross. There's only one thing wrong with his entire brand.
125.
Nickname.
Yeah, granted.
It's just a bit too friendly. It needs to be a bit more brand-worthy. And you know what I'd call him? The Big Deal. Because he's from Deal.
Yeah.
and he's a big deal.
I like it. It's better than the Big Kent.
60.
Yep, there you go. Back of the shirt. It's got Deal Castle, I believe, on there. Not far from Royal St George's.
Or is it Dover Castle? It's a
One
castle
of the
down in
two.
Kent.
Beautiful part of the world. But yeah, I like the big deal.
That's pretty good for you, Nicholson, actually.
100.
Now then, a 180 gets him back in the leg, and he's always threatening to do that, Ross Smith. Treble 18. Ooh, couldn't quite get it.
96.
This is something that we
136.
also saw yesterday on this stage. We're not going to get it this time from Ross, but this is to go into the break 5-5. Really important moment here for Jonny.
He'll only get one dart. And he needed more than one. Jonny Clayton blinks. Ross Smith's been doing his bit. He's been banging in the big scores regularly. Jonny Clayton had been taking out the finishers, but that one eludes him. And Smith punishes. 6-4. The scorer leads the finisher by just 2 legs. Jonny Clayton took a 3-2 lead. Ross Smith has won 4 of the next 5. He's 6-4 up in a race to 10 as they fight it out for a spot in the last 16. Opening game on stage 2, and it's that man Ross Smith, the man from Deal, who is 6-4 up on Jonny Clayton. UK Open, probably a special place in Ross Smith's heart. He was a quarter-finalist here a number of years ago. It felt like a sort of breakthrough tournament for him in 2019, and then it didn't quite transpire that was the start of lots of big things. Obviously, things like COVID happened after that, but Ross Smith has improved since then significantly, and he is illustrating his skills. Yesterday, it was a 99 average with 9 180s in a 10-8 victory over Darryl Gurney. So far, he is averaging 103 with 6 180s and a 177. He is scoring better than anybody in this tournament in terms of 180s so far. Early days, I know. This is only his second game. And it's a game he could yet lose, because Jonny Clayton, being way off it yesterday, is looking much more like the ferret we know and love.
However, we're at a point now where if Clayton doesn't break, he's staring at a 3-leg deficit
78.
against someone who is finding a 180 about 80% of the time in a leg. That's a great hit rate. And the scary thing is he can get better than that.
Well, he made a sprint for the line against Gurney, won the last 4 legs, and there was a burst there from 8-6 down. He went 11 dart break, 14 dart hold, 12 dart break. Now, in that burst there, Gurney needed 12 darters to win any of those legs. And if he does that here, in that pattern, then Jonny Clayton is going to have to find something really special to stop him.
That's a good start. Adds that maximum to a 140 start here in leg 11. But when you've got that in the locker, that ability to have that blitz at the end of a match like this, that's when big things can happen in your career. You might even cash the £110,000 cheque tomorrow night.
Yeah, but how many times did we see it yesterday on this board? Players would be 6-4 up or looking like the better player in 5-all at the halfway stage, and then the game does change. Not even that dramatically. It's just one player slightly drops their level a little bit and the other one raises theirs, and the game can change so very quickly. Gabriel Clemens certainly found that out to his cost yesterday, because he was brilliant in the first 10 legs and then just couldn't quite find a way to keep that dominance going.
Second time in the match that Jonny has failed to get 4 18s for a shot at the bull on 122. And Ross is not going to get a look at the bullseye or double 5 for the 130. So this necessary break that Clayton needs to keep things tight relies on a shot that he missed in leg 10.
Oh, that's not close. But double 2 finds the mark. Jonny Clayton does take out 68, and he does break the throw. And all of a sudden, when Ross Smith would have been feeling pretty good about how the game has gone thus far. He sees Jonny Clayton with the darts in his hand, looking to level the match up.
108.
Ferret finger time, and now he's got 2 legs in a row with maximums in them. Looks more positive as well. Watched a little bit of his game
45.
on YouTube yesterday, because there are some of the highlights available from the PDC on that format, and just looked at some of the legs that Clayton played against Walters. He just looked like he was trudging through the sand on his hands and knees, whereas here he's at ease with the game and he's starting to get that little bit of ferret ferocity.
Just the 30 points. Now, he's still got a healthy lead, but Ross Smith, of all people, can obliterate that in a blink of an eye. Because once he gets one in a treble bed, I was going to say he's usually very good at following. He's unable to do so there, but he is back in this leg.
Meanwhile, on the main stage, Gary Anderson currently 7-4 up on Chris Dobie. Both averaging around 93 and change. This game is actually a better game.
Whoa, not the game I expected. I thought that might be the pick of the games today. Understandable main stage pick. I mean, I don't know why anybody bickers about what's on what stage, seeing as you can watch every single one of them if you want. All of the games are streamed. Why do you care what stage it's on?
Well, there are people out there who, simply put, could be given an all-you-can-eat card and they'd say they'd want more.
Quite.
That's essentially what you've got at the UK Open. You've got all-you-can-eat darts.
Jonny Clayton doesn't gobble that one up. Now, he is proficient at 180s. What about 170s? Nope, not this time.
Had he got that first one in the top half of that 60, there was a real likelihood that was going to be popped. As for double 9, forget about it. Double 8 or double 4, not found. Now, this is where he has an out. Doesn't have to be perfect. The first dart can be a single. Which single does he want? He's going for the 20 because he wants one dart at 32, which has cooperated a lot in this game.
Straight in as well. Well, Jonny Clayton, ironically, was getting himself back in that game by hitting 180s, and then the finishing that he'd been relying on previously deserted him. Missed a couple of 18s, missed a couple of 8 and 4. 4 darts missed for a level game, and all of a sudden, he is a breakdown, and Ross Smith is even further towards the finishing line than he was at the half-time break.
Endurance is not going to be a problem for Smith. He spends more time on a peloton than Chris Boardman spent time on his bike in his career. Very, very fit man. And he believes that is how you win tournaments like this. He's got the ability, and then it's about managing those energy levels throughout what is a very compact event. It's only 3 days.
Yeah, well, entering as one of the top seeds, which both of these guys did,
85.
means you only play the 1 game on the opening day, but it is a 2-game day if you win your opener today. Same for, well, it could be a 3-game day tomorrow.
140.
I think the schedule for Sunday at the UK Open is perfect. You can put everything into your quarterfinal, and then there's enough of a gap between
137.
the afternoon and the evening where you can reset and start again. And they do it so often on the Euro Tour these days. It won't feel like it used to, whereas you'd have 1 or 2 tournaments a year. Like now, there's closer to 20.
Well, somebody like Jonny Clayton has done it plenty of times on the Euro Tour. He's a multiple Euro Tour champion. Ross Smith, bafflingly, has not really threatened on the Euro Tour. The most notable thing he did was hit a 9-darter in Gibraltar years ago, and then nobody hit one for another half a decade.
It's just like Rob Cross was about a year ago, European champion without a Euro Tour title.
Yeah, but at least he was making loads of finals. Ross Smith hasn't really been doing that. He hasn't been making final session.
He'll do it this year. He might even get 8-5 up here with tops.
50.
Not quite. But Johnny's not going to do anything from 179.
$99.
Well, chips away at it.
20.
But Ross Smith, if this doesn't go in just outside, he can use the marker, which he's done so well in this game. Well, now he's got an issue. And that's not really a marker at all. And so worried was he about missing inside that first start of the double 5 was nowhere near.
Double 10 for Jonny. And he finds the 5s that Ross could not. And what could have been 8-5 is now only 7-6 with Clayton back on throw. How does Ross manage that disappointment? That's what this leg is all about now.
He was averaging 103 for the first 10 legs of this game, Ross Smith, but since the break, he's dropped 5 points on his average. He has not been hitting the massive scores. That might need to change.
You can see what he's trying to do with dart 2 there. He's not going for the 60 bet. He's trying to hit the dart. He's trying to nestle all 3 darts in the same hole of a polo mint. Other mints are available.
85.
But that's his way of scoring. That's why he's so good at it. And you might think, well, why is he using these very vivid white flights? Because he wants to see where they are. He doesn't use dark equipment in the top half because he wants to be able to see the target of the stem and flight, which will nestle the darts together. It's very clever.
437.
Yeah, Rod Harrington used to be big on that, liked having a sort of bright silver dart or flight and stem combo because he felt that you can see it in the board, you know, like it just helps you focus visually.
55. January 142.
He's still got a set of his flights in mint condition in a packet. Team Duro flights. They're quite rare.
But they are.
60.
Well, Ferret leaves himself 82.
Is he going to leave 41? Silly question.
Jonny require 82.
Back on the 180s, but it might be too little too late in this leg. 17 and tops for Jonny Clayton. Is it another combo finish for the Ferrets? Yes, it is. The finisher is back on level terms with the scorer.
Well, that's a celebration I haven't seen from Jonny before, giving it the old symbol action. This is a great game all of a sudden, but when it comes to Ross, what else is new? 180 number 8, and he's only 1 away from all of the 180s that he hit yesterday. Almost doubling down already, and he's the best 180 hitter in the tournament. He's the best 180 hitter in most tournaments.
Can he make another dash for the line like he did against Gurney? He found some brilliant stuff towards the back end of that game. But just because he managed to do that and win a tight game while playing well against Gurney, it will not erase the memories for months and months and months where so often Ross Smith has gone out of the tournament averaging close to the 100 mark, sometimes over it, playing well and getting beaten.
59.
And going out in the last 32 or last 16 tournaments where he has looked like one of the likely winners.
I'm not sure I like that play on the 19s. It was very aggressive. Maybe considering Clayton's 370 points there, going bull with the last dot to take the bull out of play completely would have been the right thing to do. He's still got 6 darts from here, so I'm maybe just picking nits a little bit. But sometimes those decisions in the right moments can come back to haunt you. At least he's left himself 32 this time, which has not let him down at any point.
Yeah, ultimately, he did bring the bullseye into play in the setup phase. Allowed to do that by Clayton, not doing a great deal. There's your marker dart. He's gone the wrong side of it. But he gets it right this time. We've seen him do it so often in this match. He did trail for 1 leg in this game. He was 3-2 down. He immediately hit back against Clayton. He has not allowed the Welshman to get in front since.
We've got 2 names into the last 16. One of them is Gian van Veen, who's taken care of Graham Usher, who obliterated Ryan Searle's heart yesterday in a last leg shootout on one of the outside boards. Van Veen has beaten Usher by 10 legs to 7. And Ricky Evans has taken care of an impressive Mike De Decker today. 10 legs to 5. Ricky Evans is cooking. He's 1 game away from Sunday at the UK Open. Well done, Ricky.
Yeah, good reward for Ricky Evans, who, similar to Ross Smith, has played a lot of good darts over the last year and a half and perhaps hasn't had the rewards that quality deserves.
And there's another name just joined them as well, and that name is Gary Anderson, the former champion from 2018 who has not won this title on the main stage. He's still alive. He's in the last 16. He's beaten Dobie 10-5.
92 plays, 89 average in that game. Not the game I expected, I have to say. I thought that'd be real high quality. Oh, Jonny Clayton. Okay, well, look, he is down to a finish. But Ross Smith gets first poke at the 136.
I think Jonny just wanted to leave 136, and in case Ross doesn't get it, he'll say, well, I can get it, you can't. He's not going to get it. Can Jonny? I'm only joking, of course. He didn't want to leave 136, but it's a chance. A chance that was too difficult on this occasion.
45.
To break Jonny Clayton, to go within a leg of the last 16. The former quarter-finalist gets the marker. Does not use it. You were wrong in the crowd. And you can't cheer yet either.
Jonny require 91.
Sometimes stepping off in that moment would have been the right thing to do. However, Ross thought he was going to get it. Is Jonny going to get tops? That is monstrous. Incredibly impressive in that moment to level up after 16 legs with a double-double finish from bottom to top. Jonny Clayton is not playing his best darts at the minute, but my word, he's digging deep.
Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it. Jonny Clayton taking out fancy finishes. Ross Smith hitting 180s. And we still don't know who's going to win it.
Now he's got 9 180s for the day. Exactly what he got yesterday. What is it about Ross, though? He plays darts the way that Nate Diaz fights in the octagon. It's just always gripping.
You do get bang for your buck when Ross Smith is playing darts. You don't always see him win, but you do get some cracking contests. Because you've got to be good to beat him. And truth be told, people seem to be really good a lot of the time. Clayton, 83 average yesterday. He's put 10 points on that and is finishing really well. And this could be an opening. It could be an opening for Jonny Clayton.
Do you remember when Ian White used to be the best practice partner in the world for people? People would practice for him and then they'd go on and win things. It seems as if Ross Smith is the ideal opponent in-game to bring out the best of you, whether you're in form or not.
What can he leave himself?
95.
He leaves himself a 2-darter.
Can he leave 42? Not quite. There is a double-double opportunity here if he doesn't get the treble 20. Double 18. Too safe.
56.
So it was 91 in the previous leg with 2 doubles. This, prospectively, is a little easier with 17. And that tops again.
Jonny Clayton leads and is a leg away. He has won 4 of the last 5 legs. And look at the checkouts. 80, 82, 91 with a double-double finish, and 82 again. A little sniff of a chance for the ferret, and he is all over it.
66.
That is an incredible 66. That could have been so much worse than that. Pressure is firmly on Ross Smith now. And because he's trebleless, Clayton has got away with that 66.
So his first 2 darts in the 1 segment, he still outscored the biggest scorer in the game. In a leg where he's trying to win the match, but he's only backed up with 40, and Ross Smith's not going to make another mistake, surely.
Nope. Here he comes. Here he comes.
Come on. 100.
He's in double digits for 180s. He is at 19 in this tournament.
140.
He only played 37 legs of darts.
Effectively, Clayton has lost the throw here. But he has still got 6 darts from 255 to be in the last 16 for the 5th consecutive year.
139.
He's got a chance to wrap things up. Jonny Clayton on a 1 treble combo finish, and all of his checkouts have been going in this second half of the game pretty much.
435.
Well, Clayton started the leg with 66. Is Ross Smith going to finish it with 66, or does he even get a chance at it? Yes, he does.
81, yeah.
Going to get the treble 19.
54.
Only leaves himself
66.
on a potential 1 dart at double shot. But Ross Smith only gets 1 dart at double himself. And he elects for double 18 to break. And he misses outside, and Jonny Clayton has been hoovering up these chances.
And he hit this earlier in 2 darts. Can he do it again? Not this time. I think for a split second he thought that double 16 was good. It missed by the finest of margins.
Match darts missed by Jonny Clayton. Ross Smith has darts to take it to a last leg decider where he has the throw. Double 9. Last chance. Does not take it. Ross Smith offers a thumbs up. I assume he's annoyed with something said in the crowd. I don't think he's got any complaints. He could have won this, but he doesn't. It is another real tough one for Ross Smith to take. Jonny Clayton's finishing absolutely sublime. Ross Smith, 10 maximums, incredible scoring, but he could not take the chances that came his way towards the back of the match. And the Ferret, once again, is in the last 16 of the UK Open.